This is Mr. Eugene, and today I'm saying something that will make people furious. Most of the problems women complain about in their husbands would disappear if they simply had regular, enthusiastic sex with them. The lazy husband would become productive. The distant husband would become engaged. The emotionally unavailable husband would open up. The unmotivated husband would start building. This isn't about men being shallow or sex-obsessed. This is about fundamental male psychology. Physical intimacy is how men bond emotionally. It's how they feel valued. It's how they maintain the psychological foundation to be their best selves. Remove it and you systematically destroy the man. Then women complain about living with the destroyed man they created. Today I'm breaking down what sexual rejection does to men, why withholding intimacy creates every problem women complain about, and why wives who provide consistent intimacy get the husbands they want. This will be controversial. Good. Marriages are dying because nobody will say this clearly. Let me define what we're discussing. A dead bedroom is when sex happens once a month or less, when it's always duty sex where she's clearly tolerating it, when there's no enthusiasm, no desire, no genuine participation. Studies show 15 to 20% of marriages are completely sexless. Another 30 to 40% are functionally sexless. That means roughly half of all marriages have dead or dying bedrooms. Half of married men are experiencing chronic sexual rejection. In the vast majority of cases, the wife is the gatekeeper who closed the gate. She's the lower desire partner controlling frequency. She's saying no consistently. She's treating sex as obligation rather than desire. Here's what women don't understand. They think he's just disappointed he didn't get sex and he'll get over it. Reality is he feels rejected by the person whose acceptance matters most. This creates deep psychological wound that compounds with each rejection. They think sex isn't that important, there's more to marriage. Reality is for men, sex is how they experience love and connection. Without it, the marriage feels loveless regardless of other positives. They think if he was more romantic or helpful, they'd want sex more. Reality is men need sex to have energy and motivation to be romantic and helpful. You're withholding the fuel while demanding the engine run. When a man's wife consistently rejects him sexually, he feels unwanted, undesirable, unvalued. This isn't superficial disappointment. This is deep wound to masculine identity. A man's wife is supposed to desire him. When she doesn't, it communicates you're not man enough to create desire in me. First rejection is disappointing. 10th rejection is painful. 100th rejection after years is soul-crushing. Men bond through physical intimacy. During sex, men release oxytocin, dopamine, and vasopressin. These neurochemicals create and maintain emotional bond. Sex literally creates love in male neurology. Without regular sex, oxytocin bonding decreases, dopamine pathways disconnect, attachment weakens. The neurological bond deteriorates. He doesn't love her less intentionally. His brain literally loses the bonding mechanism. Male motivation to provide is directly connected to feeling sexually valued. For millions of years, male provision was rewarded with female sexual access. This created powerful connection between providing and sexual reward. When provision isn't rewarded sexually, the reinforcement loop breaks, motivation to work hard decreases, drive to provide diminishes. Why am I working hard for someone who doesn't want me? This is why men in dead bedrooms become lazy or unmotivated, not because they're inherently lazy, because the biological driver connecting provision to reward has been severed. After chronic rejection, men withdraw emotionally as self-protection. He stops initiating sex because it's too painful. He stops initiating emotional intimacy because vulnerability led to rejection. He stops sharing feelings. He stops being affectionate because affection without intimacy feels like teasing. He withdraws into hobbies, work, screens, anything that doesn't remind him of the rejection. Chronic rejection creates massive resentment. Resentment that she won't meet his fundamental need. Resentment that she uses sex as weapon. Resentment that she expects him to provide while rejecting him. This resentment simmers constantly, makes him irritable, quick to anger, defensive, hostile. Eventually, chronic rejection leads to affair, porn addiction, complete emotional checkout, or divorce. Let me show you what happens when the bedroom comes alive. She complains he's lazy and unmotivated. He doesn't take initiative, doesn't advance his career, no ambition, lazy around the house. Regular sex changes everything. Testosterone levels optimize. Dopamine reward system activates. Biological drive to provide increases. Energy levels improve dramatically. The lazy man becomes productive, ambitious, takes initiative, completes projects, advances his career, not because he suddenly changed character, because his biological drives were reactivated. Picture this. Man, 38, married 12 years, dead bedroom 5 years, sex once every 6 to 8 weeks. Overweight, stagnant career, didn't do projects, watched TV constantly. Wife complained about his laziness daily. Wife committed to sex 3 times per week minimum for 90 days. After 90 days, he lost 25 pounds, got promoted at work, completed 3 major home projects, engaged with family, high energy. Wife was shocked at the transformation. Same man. Only variable that changed was regular, enthusiastic sex. The laziness wasn't character flaw. It was symptom of sexual rejection destroying his testosterone and motivation. She complains he's emotionally distant, won't open up, emotionally unavailable, withdrawn. Regular sex changes this. Oxytocin bonding increases. He feels safe being vulnerable. Connection deepens. Defensive walls come down. The emotionally unavailable man opens up, shares feelings, communicates freely, becomes deeply engaged. Not because he learned communication skills, because sexual acceptance made it safe to be emotionally open. She complains he's not romantic, doesn't plan dates, no surprises, no effort. Regular sex changes this. He feels valued and desired. Energy for romantic effort increases. Positive feelings toward her increase. The unromantic man plans dates, creates surprises, makes romantic gestures, puts in effort. Not because he read a book on romance, because sexual fulfillment created energy and desire to romance her. She complains he doesn't help around the house, has to ask him to do everything, doesn't notice what needs doing. Regular sex changes this. Partnership feeling strengthens, desire to please her increases, energy to contribute increases. The unhelpful man notices what needs doing, contributes without being asked, helps actively, not because she nagged better, because sexual fulfillment created overflow of generosity. She complains he's always angry or irritable. Bad mood constantly, snaps at her, hostile. Regular sex changes this. Resentment decreases dramatically. Stress hormones decrease, mood stabilizes, patience increases. The angry man becomes calm, patient, pleasant, emotionally stable. Not because he managed anger better, because sexual fulfillment eliminated the source of his anger. She complains he's not present with the kids. Distant father, not involved, checked out. Regular sex changes this. Emotional capacity increases. Patience with chaos increases. Positive mood makes engagement easier. The distant father engages actively, plays with kids, is present, invests emotionally. Not because he learned parenting skills, because sexual fulfillment gave him capacity to parent well. Now let me show you the mechanism, how sexual rejection specifically creates these problems. Chronic sexual rejection decreases testosterone levels in men. Studies show men in sexless marriages have measurably lower testosterone than sexually active men. Lower testosterone means less energy, less drive, less confidence, more fatigue, depression. The lazy, unmotivated, irritable husband is partially the result of crashed testosterone from sexual rejection. Without regular sex, the oxytocin bonding mechanism fails. Men bond through physical intimacy. Women bond through emotional intimacy. When you deny him physical intimacy, you're denying him the mechanism through which he bonds to you. He becomes distant not because he doesn't care, because his biological bonding mechanism has been shut down. Male brain operates on reward systems. Effort leads to reward leads to repeat behavior. When his effort providing, working, contributing is not rewarded sexually, the loop breaks. Effort with no reward leads to decreased effort. The lazy, unhelpful husband is the result of broken reward loop from sexual rejection. Chronic rejection creates psychological self-protection. Initiating sex leads to rejection leads to pain. Being vulnerable leads to rejection leads to pain. Showing affection leads to rejection leads to pain. Solution is stop initiating, stop being vulnerable, stop showing affection. Withdraw to avoid pain. The withdrawn, unaffectionate husband is self-protection from chronic sexual rejection. Years of rejection create massive resentment. This resentment affects how he sees her, how he interprets her actions, how he responds to her, how he treats her. The angry, hostile husband is the result of years of accumulated resentment from sexual rejection. Let me tell you the brutal truth women don't want to hear. If your husband is lazy, distant, unmotivated, angry, or emotionally unavailable, ask yourself, how's the bedroom? Once a month? Once every few months? Only duty sex? Then you're creating the problems you're complaining about. Sexual rejection is destroying him, and you're experiencing the destroyed version. You cannot reject a man sexually for years and then complain he's not the man you want. You destroyed that man through rejection. Every time you say not tonight without good reason, you're reinforcing that he's not desirable, weakening the bonding mechanism, decreasing his motivation to provide, building his resentment, creating the problems you'll complain about tomorrow. Unless he's genuinely abusive, violent, or dangerous, have sex with your husband. Regularly, enthusiastically, not as reward for good behavior. As foundational requirement for his psychological health and your marriage's survival, I don't feel like it is not good enough reason when your marriage is dying, when your husband is deteriorating, when you're complaining about problems your sexual rejection is creating. Discipline yourself. Do what's right for your marriage even when you don't feel like it. If you continue the dead bedroom, he will either cheat, leave, or check out completely. These are the only outcomes of chronic sexual rejection. None of them are good. Your tiredness doesn't stop his need for connection. Your stress doesn't eliminate his biological requirements. Adults do necessary things even when they don't feel like it. Having sex with your husband is necessary for marriage survival. Now let me address what about women's needs. When a man's sexual needs are met consistently, he becomes the man who meets her needs. He becomes romantic. He becomes emotionally available. He becomes helpful. He becomes patient and kind. The man with consistent intimacy naturally provides what women need. But when his needs aren't met, he cannot and will not meet hers. He's too depleted, resentful, and withdrawn. So meeting his sexual needs first creates the man who meets her other needs. Women think meet my needs first, romance, help, emotional connection, then I'll want sex. Reality is men need sex to have energy and motivation to meet your needs. The correct order is give him consistent sexual intimacy. Watch him transform into romantic, helpful, emotionally available man. Enjoy having all your needs met by the transformed man. Reversing this order doesn't work. You cannot withhold sex until he meets your needs because he needs sex to have capacity to meet your needs. Dead bedrooms destroy marriages, destroy families, damage children. Reviving the bedroom isn't just for him. It's for your marriage, which is dying without intimacy, your family, which needs healthy marriage, your children who need both parents happy, and you who benefits from having emotionally healthy, motivated husband. Most marriage problems would disappear if wives had regular, enthusiastic sex with their husbands. The lazy husband would become productive. The distant husband would become engaged. The unmotivated husband would become ambitious. The angry husband would become calm. The unromantic husband would become romantic. Not all problems, not abusive situations, but the vast majority of complaints women have about ordinary men would vanish because sexual rejection destroys men, makes them feel unwanted, weakens bonding, collapses motivation, creates withdrawal, builds resentment, leads to affairs or divorce. While sexual fulfillment creates the best version of men, optimizes testosterone, strengthens bonding, activates drive to provide, creates emotional openness, dissolves resentment, makes them want to meet her needs. If you have dead bedroom and you have complaints about your husband, the connection is not coincidence. You're creating the problems through sexual rejection. You can solve the problems through sexual fulfillment. Have sex with your husband regularly, enthusiastically. Watch him transform into everything you claim you want. Or continue the dead bedroom and continue complaining about the destroyed man you're creating. The choice is yours. The outcome is predictable. Drop a comment. Men, did your marriage problems improve when the bedroom came alive? Women, are you willing to test this for 90 days? Subscribe for the truth about male psychology that explains everything